Hi boys, this is Mrs. Bone, and we are going to start today with a brand new topic here in our class. And we're going to do video instruction today, so just follow along. Hopefully this will take us about 8 or 10 minutes. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. We're just going to kind of go through this slowly and methodically, and then you're going to answer a discussion post that's in your assignment. And the discussion post is based on the video. So if you haven't watched the video, the discussion post is going to be kind of difficult to do. So please make sure you watch the video to duration. I'm sure I will do my best to try not to bore you too much, okay? And I hope you're all doing really, really well. It's great to see you. We're going to start talking about the sacrament of what? What do you think? Yes, the sacrament of marriage. This is chapter 7 of your textbooks. And your textbook covers kind of 5 basic components of what the sacrament of marriage's effects are, or what it actually does. And then I'm going to cover a piece you probably remember from Theology of the Body, free, total, faithful, and fruitful. Because really, as young men embarking, having most of you having been confirmed or getting confirmed, or I know your confirmations have been postponed for some of you, you need to understand that marriage is by far the most blessed and most recognized as beautiful, sacred, and forever within the auspices of the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church treats marriage with more dignity, more respect than any other institution or religion out there, okay? And so you should be proud of that, okay? Because we elevate it to the level of a sacrament. And remember, we don't elevate it to the level of a sacrament. Who elevates it? Christ does, right? We didn't make up the sacraments. The sacraments are contained in the scriptures. And all of these sacraments are God's will, are Christ's gift to us, okay? So first and foremost, God gave this sacrament, established it, that it would be between a baptized man and a baptized woman. And this has to be baptized Christians, okay? So let's say I'm Catholic and I fall in love with someone who is a non-denominational Christian. I can marry them, and yes, I can get married in the church, okay? That is a baptized person, okay? If someone has never been baptized, then they would have to be baptized before they could get married in the church, okay? So the first kind of effect is that it's an established permanent union by God between a baptized man and a baptized woman. Secondly, it is a covenant. And you know what covenants are, right? You studied them in detail last year in sacred scripture. The new covenant is the gospel, right? And the message of Christ, and all of these sacraments that we've been talking about all semester are part of that new covenant. And the covenant that is established by God in marriage cannot be broken by man. That's very, very important, okay? We talk about annulments, and we're not going to talk about annulments specifically today, but when we talk about annulments, that is basically the church, with the blessing of God, saying that the sacrament never took place, that it never took place to begin with. So we can't look at it as an annulment as something that breaks the covenant if the covenant was never established. And that's all I'm going to say about that piece of it today, because it's kind of a deep conversation. But what you need to understand about the sacrament of marriage is that we cannot just say, well, game over. You know, we can't do that as Catholics. It's a very, very sacred, indissoluble union, right? Okay, third, it actually gives grace you need to fulfill the covenant. So when I say I do to that man, or in your case, that woman, it means that there is now a special grace that is there for us, that is contained within that sacrament, right? That awesome gift of God, in the sacrament of marriage, okay? The other 2 things are very basic, and that's simply that these 2 spouses exist for each other's good, okay? A selfless type of union, and for their children, okay? And in the education of their children, okay? So you have spouses who this covenant's established for their common good, as well as the good of their children and the education of those children, okay? And they're seen as the primary educators of those children, okay? The education starts in the home. Education starts in the home. Even we here at Pinecrest Academy, we want to assist you right, in the education of your children. We look at parents as the primary educators. So it's really kind of a beautiful partnership. Finally, the sacrament of marriage allows us, and this is probably the most mind-blowing piece, being a participant in the sacrament of marriage, that still just blows my mind to this day, years and years later. It allows us to participate in God's plan for creation, okay? In this beautiful aspect of conjugal love where a man and woman come together, and sometimes that results in a baby, right? Having a baby. That manifestation, that physical manifestation of their love makes them co-creators with God. I mean, it's mind-blowing, right? That we can be co-creators with God. Now, it also implies creation not just of children. There is a new love that's created when a man and woman come together. So even if they are not able to have children, right? They are participating in this idea of a created love. It's absolutely mind-boggling and beautiful, okay? So, we're going to talk about these 4 aspects of love that exist within the marriage covenant that you actually should have learned in Theology of the Body. And I'm just going to kind of review them quickly for you here today. And then I'm going to let you get to your discussion post so you can answer some of these questions I've put together for you. But we have to talk a little bit about why there are these 4 things: free, total, faithful, and fruitful, and why they must exist to say that love really exists and that a marriage actually exists. So free. What does that even mean? I'm free. Okay. So we think of free in terms of liberty, in terms of free speech, in terms of our freedoms. Okay. But freedom, actually, what it means is that I have no inhibitions whatsoever. Okay. I'm actually going to steal some stuff from one of my books here to kind of read through with you a little bit, but I have no inhibitions whatsoever. I can live this freedom in such a way that it doesn't inhibit me at all. I'm not being coerced. I'm not being forced. This is not an arranged marriage. I'm coming with a completely free, a completely open heart that enables me to kind of be the best version of myself in the marriage. If you will, while I put my glasses on as they're upside down, nothing else is controlling me, and I do not feel any pressure. Okay, that's freedom when it comes to the free commitment of marriage. Okay, and it has to be in existence. Otherwise, we can't say it's there. Okay, then we have something we say is total. What does that mean? Okay, if I'm free to come to this marriage, then I'm total. What does that even mean? Okay, it's a gift of total self. Everything, completely, no holds bar, handing it over to the other. It makes you incredibly vulnerable. It requires incredible selflessness, and it has to be all in or none. Okay, many of you play sports or on different teams, even if you're in theatrical productions, the band, it doesn't matter. When you're all in, you're all in. Think of the commitments you've made, okay, just to these things, okay? I'm going to take the boys basketball team this year as an example because it's fresh in our minds and because all the spring sports have been canceled and things have just been changed up so much. But do you think for a moment, okay, that there was even one of those young men who was not completely, totally all in for that journey? Okay, there was a culture created on that team that said we are all in. We need that same culture to be created within our marriages, right? So this idea of a total commitment, you hold nothing back, nothing. Everything about you gets to be for her or for him, right? So very, very, very important aspect of married love, this idea of totality, okay, totality. Finally, we have something, next actually, we have what we call faithful, all right? What does faithful mean? Faithful has several nuances. Faithful has this concept that I'm going to continue to grow in faith. I'm going to continue to establish myself in faith. I'm not going to be, my life of prayer is only going to get better. My life of loving God is only going to get better. Of being a faithful Catholic, of being a faithful daughter of a king, right, is only going to get better. It also means fidelity, right? That I am hers or his alone, right? That I am faithful to my vows, right? This even means in thought, gentlemen, okay? Because we all struggle with this sin we call lust, right? And we all have to learn to guard our thoughts, to keep our eyes and our minds on things that are pure and good and just and holy, right? We can't for a moment allow any of that stuff to wreck what is a faithful, committed union, okay? In my book here, we have something like this, that you are committed to your spouse, and that commitment guides your other actions. You keep your promises once you've made them, no matter how your feelings may change. You stay committed, right? Until death separates you, right? Well, I don't really feel tough. Who cares what you feel like, right? You are all in, and you have to be faithful. So we've got this idea of freedom. We've got this idea of a total donation of self. Here I am. I'm all yours. Take it, right? And then we have this idea of fidelity, right? I am going to stick, and I'm going to stick completely forever. All right. And this is a heady request, right? God is looking for faithful people. He is looking for faithful people. So we must be faithful, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. We must be faithful. Okay. Next, marriage must be fruitful. Now, what does that mean? Right? I always get the question like, what if a couple is totally open to life and they're unable to have children? Because this inevitably brings about the idea that a fruit is something that happens as a result of whatever it is that's supposed to bear the fruit. So if I've got an apple tree, it's supposed to bear apples, right? And if I have a marriage and I'm open to life and I don't have any children, right? Because I'm unable to have children, does this somehow mean that my marriage is not fruitful? And I think this is where the Catholic Church just gets it right every time. Because a fruitful marriage is another Christ to the world. That is the fruit. That is the fruit of a fruitful marriage. Now, an obvious fruit would be children. A maybe not so obvious fruit would be a total donation of self in some form of apostolate or ministry. You know, you have time because you don't have children. You know, maybe within the bonds of that married love, the man decides, hey, I'm going to become a deacon. I mean, I have the time and I have the gift set and I can preach and I can do all these things and I can help the church, right? There are so many ways that marriages bear fruit, but please understand that the primary way we bear fruit is we are another Christ to the world. So when we fail at fruit, we fail big time because the world sees a marriage that's not fruitful and the world wants nothing to do with it, right? Marriage is under attack. I'm just going to kind of just lay that out there for you. If you don't fight for your marriage, nobody will, right? You have got to choose wisely, and you got to choose someone who's going to be front line with you, lock arms with you, and never let go, regardless of how they're feeling, okay? So for a marriage to be fruitful, there are a lot of things that are implied in that, and children are certainly one of those fruits, okay? So the idea of fruitful, your love is life-giving because it's free and total and faithful. It's open to the possibility of new life, okay, in the physical realm. And then I want to talk about all four of these things very quickly in terms of spiritual life, okay? So we have to give of our spirit, our souls, that about us which is eternal, also within that marriage, okay? We freely give our spirit. We totally give our spirit. We faithfully give our spirit, and we fruitfully give our spirit, okay? And hopefully that is completely reciprocated. You know, I get asked a lot what I think the key to a successful marriage is. And there are tons of books and tons of programs and tons of things out there that tell us this. But marriage that is successful is completely selfless, okay? And when you figure this out, okay, and I know you're young right now, okay, I know you're in the 10th grade and you're like, well, Mrs. Bone is really on this marriage thing and I'm not even sure I'm going to get married. I might want to be a priest, or that's a long ways away from me. I need you to establish these convictions right now, because when you meet him or you meet her, I want you thinking free, total, faithful, fruitful. What was Miss Bone said? Oh, selfless. Can I care more about him every day for the rest of my life than I do about myself? Can I do that? Okay. So I think that's it for today. Again, go